The folder was already resting on my lap when my son finally dropped the bomb he had been sweating over all evening. "Mom, we need you to retire early," Liam muttered, not quite meeting my eyes. "We just can't keep doing this. We can't afford the daycare costs anymore." I sat back in my dining chair, the heavy oak one I bought after my husband passed away 15 years ago. I looked across the table at my son, a 32-year-old grown man, and his wife, Sarah. They had invited themselves over for a Sunday pot roast, carrying an air of nervous energy that I had smelled the moment they walked through my front door. I am 64 years old. For the past 28 years, I have worked as a regional logistics director for a major supply chain company. I track shipping routes, balance multi-million-dollar budgets, and negotiate contracts. I do not get flustered, and I certainly do not lose track of numbers. "How much exactly are you spending on daycare?" I asked, keeping my tone perfectly level. "It's $1,900 a month." Mom, Liam sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's draining us. We're barely scraping by on our salaries. And since you're so close to retirement age anyway, Sarah and I figured it just makes sense for you to step in. Lily loves you. It's a win-win." I glanced at Sarah. She offered a tight, overly practiced smile, folding her napkin on her lap. Together, my son and his wife make roughly $172,000 a year. They live in a 4-bedroom house-drive vehicles that smell like fresh leather and feed their golden retriever imported organic kibble. "A win-win," I repeated softly. "Exactly." Sarah chimed in, sounding entirely too eager. "You get to bond with your granddaughter full-time, and we don't have to stress about going bankrupt. Family helps family, right?" I didn't argue. I didn't cry or guilt-trip them about my career. Instead, I just smiled, reached down to the floor beside my chair, and placed the heavy blue folder on the dining table. "What's that?" Liam asked, his brow furrowing. "This," I replied, flipping it open, "is why I am not quitting my job." There is a specific kind of silence that falls over a room when people realize the conversation is no longer going their way. It settled over the dining table, thick and suffocating. "I like to be prepared," I stated plainly. Turning the first spreadsheet toward Liam and Sarah. "You claim you cannot afford $1,900 a month on a combined income of $170,000. So I did a little basic math." Sarah's posture stiffened. "Chloe, I don't think our personal finances are. You made them my business the moment you asked me to sacrifice my pension and daily income to subsidize your lifestyle." I interrupted calmly. I tapped my index finger against the first highlighted row. "Let's look at the actual problem. 2 months ago, you leased a brand new luxury SUV. Monthly payment $950. Liam shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "We needed a safe car for Lily. Your previous car was a 3-year-old Honda," I pointed out. I moved my finger down the page. "Next, the country club membership you use may be twice a summer, $400 a month. The bi-weekly house cleaning service, $350. The premium meal kit delivery because you're both too tired to grocery shop, $600 a month." I flipped to the second page detailing the smaller leaks in their financial ship. The multiple streaming services. The $300 a month spent on specialty coffee and takeout lunches. Daycare is not bankrupting you. I summarized, closing the folder and folding my hands over it. Your lifestyle is bankrupting you. You are spending like you make $300,000 a year. You want me to give up my career, which brings me joy and financial security, so you don't have to give up your heated leather seats. Sarah's face flushed a deep, blotchy red. "We work hard. We deserve to have nice things. It's not our fault the economy is terrible. It is entirely your fault that you signed a lease you couldn't afford," I corrected gently. "I love Lily. I will always be her grandmother. But I will not be your unpaid nanny so you can keep paying for a country club." Liam stared at his plate. Sarah stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. "We're leaving," she snapped. "Come on, Liam. If your mother doesn't care about our family, we'll figure it out ourselves." I didn't stop them, but as the front door clicked shut, I knew this wasn't over. For the next 2 weeks, my house was wonderfully quiet. I went to work, tended to my garden, and enjoyed my evenings. However, the silence from my son's camp was highly calculated. Sarah was employing a classic tactic withholding my granddaughter. I usually saw 2-year-old Lily every Sunday, but suddenly they were too busy, or Lily had a cold. They expected me to break. They expected a frantic, weeping grandmother to call, begging for a visit, willing to agree to anything just to see the baby. They clearly forgot who raised Liam. I didn't chase them. Instead, I spent my Saturday morning sitting at my kitchen island with my laptop and a cup of black coffee. If they were truly struggling with their budget, as they so aggressively claimed, it was my duty as a mother to help them trim the fat. I logged into my Verizon family account. Liam's phone had been on my plan since he was in college. When he married Sarah, she conveniently ported her number over to save them money. For years, I just paid the $140 bill out of habit. With 3 clicks, I removed their lines. The carrier would notify them they had 48 hours to assume billing responsibility. Next, I logged into my auto insurance portal. I was still carrying Liam's secondary driver policy on an older policy bundle. Canceled. Finally, I logged into my Netflix, Hulu, and HBO accounts. I hit sign out of all devices and changed every single password. I closed my laptop feeling lighter than I had in months. I was not doing this out of spite. I was simply realigning my boundaries. If I was just a financial resource to them, it was time to close the bank. The peace lasted exactly until Sunday morning when my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. It was Liam. I let it ring twice before answering. "Mom?" He sounded frantic. "Did you cancel our cell service?" "My phone just gave me a billing error and Sarah can't get into any of the streaming apps." "Good morning, Liam," I greeted cheerfully. "Yes, I did. You mentioned you were struggling financially. I realized I was enabling poor money management by covering your utility expenses." "You're welcome." The line went dead quiet. Then I heard a car door slam on his end. Less than an hour later, Liam's luxury SUV pulled into my driveway. I watched through the kitchen window as he marched up the walkway. I took a slow sip of my coffee, unlocked the front door, and went back to wiping down my counters. "Mom, what is going on?" Liam demanded, stepping into the hallway. "Sarah is furious. We rely on that phone plan, and we have a toddler. You can't just cut us off without warning." I turned around, leaning against the counter. "You had a 48-hour warning from Verizon, Liam. As for the rest, you are 32 years old, earning a 6-figure household income. Why is your 64-year-old mother paying for your movie subscriptions?" He deflated slightly, rubbing his temples. "It's just the timing, Mom. Things are really tight right now. You know that. We told you at dinner." "I know what the folder showed me," I replied evenly. "I know you refused to downgrade your cars or cancel your club membership. Cutting those bills was my way of helping you balance your budget. Now you have one less thing tying you to my wallet. It feels like a punishment because we asked you to babysit," he mumbled, looking like a scolded teenager. "It's not a punishment. It's reality," I countered. "I am not angry, Liam. I am simply stepping back. I raised you to be a capable man. It is time you act like one." He paced across the kitchen floor, clearly agitated. "You don't get it. Sarah is incredibly stressed. She's talking about how we need a break. She even mentioned taking a few weeks off just to reset, but we can't afford a nanny if she does that." I caught the slip immediately. Taking a few weeks off to reset. "Oh," I asked, keeping my tone casual. "A reset sounds nice. Where is she planning to go?" Liam froze, realizing he had said too much. Nowhere. Just, mental health time. At home. Anyway, I need to go figure out this phone bill. He practically sprinted out the door. I watched him drive away, my mind spinning. A mother's intuition never truly retires. They weren't just asking for daily childcare to save money. There was a missing puzzle piece, and I was going to find it. 2 days later, the missing puzzle piece began to reveal itself. I was reading in the living room when Liam called. This time, he wasn't demanding. He sounded panicked. "Mom, we have a massive problem." A pipe burst under the kitchen sink. The whole first floor is flooded. The plumber says it'll take a week to dry out and fix the drywall. "Can we please stay with you?" Just for a few days. It was a perfectly reasonable request. Of course, I agreed. "Bring Lily. The guest room is yours." They arrived 3 hours later with 4 massive suitcases. For a family fleeing a sudden plumbing disaster, they were impeccably packed. Sarah marched in carrying a crying Lily and immediately began issuing orders. Liam put the bags upstairs. Chloe, can you take Lily? She's fussy. Also, I need to clear out half your fridge for Lily's special snacks, and we'll need the house quiet by 7 p.m. for her sleep training. I did not take Lily. I let Sarah hold her daughter. "Welcome to my home," I stated, clearly blocking the path to the kitchen. "Let's get a few things straight. The guest room is upstairs on the left. You may use the bottom shelf of the fridge. And while I respect Lily's bedtime, this is my house. I will watch television at a normal volume in my own living room." Sarah blinked clearly, taken aback. "But she's a light sleeper. Then I suggest you use the white noise machine I see sticking out of your bag," I offered with a polite smile. Over the next 2 days, Sarah tried to subtly take over. She attempted to reorganize my pantry. She complained about the brand of coffee I drank. She left dirty dishes in the sink, expecting the magical mother-in-law fairy to wash them. I simply placed her dirty dishes in a neat stack directly in front of her laptop on the dining table. I didn't say a word. The message was received. On the 3rd afternoon, Sarah and Liam went out to meet with the insurance adjuster, leaving Lily with me for 2 hours. While they were gone, I went upstairs to empty the small trash can in the guest room. That was when I found it. Buried under a crumpled tissue was a glossy printed itinerary. I smoothed out the crumpled piece of paper on my kitchen island. It was a booking confirmation from a luxury travel agency. Destination, Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Dates, leaving next Friday. Duration, 14 days. Guests, Liam and Sarah. Adults only resort. Status paid, in full. Non-refundable. I stared at the paper. The pieces clicked together with sickening precision. The plumbing emergency. The desperate push for me to retire early. The sudden need for mental health time. They weren't broke because of daycare. They were broke because they had dropped over $10,000 on a 2-week luxury vacation. And they needed me to retire not just to save daily daycare costs, but so they could dump their toddler on me for half a month without paying for a professional live-in nanny. When they realized I wouldn't quit my job, they fabricated a pipe burst to move into my house, likely planning to conveniently miss their flight. Or claim a work emergency to leave Lily with me while they slipped away to Mexico. A weaker woman might have cried. A more volatile woman might have screamed. I did neither. I neatly folded the itinerary, slipped it into my pocket, and went back to playing blocks with my granddaughter. When Liam and Sarah returned, acting stressed about the water damage, I served them dinner with a pleasant smile. "How is the house looking?" I asked. "Terrible." Liam lied smoothly, avoiding my gaze. "It's going to be at least another week or 2. We're so lucky you have space for us, Mom." "Yes, terribly lucky," I agreed, taking a sip of water. "By the way, I have some news. Since you two are here to handle the house, I've decided to take advantage of the timing. My company is hosting an executive retreat in Sedona, and they've offered me a spot. I leave on Thursday. I'll be gone for 2 weeks. Sarah's fork clattered against her plate. All the color drained from her face. Thursday, Sarah choked out. But you can't. We're staying here, and you're welcome to stay, I beamed. It works out perfectly. You have a free place to stay while your house is fixed, and I get a much-needed vacation. The next 48 hours were a masterclass in silent panic. Liam and Sarah were trapped. They couldn't forbid me from going on a work trip, but my departure completely destroyed their secret Cabo vacation. Sarah tried everything. She claimed Lily was coming down with a fever and needed her grandmother. I bought them a thermometer and children's medicine. Liam hinted that they might need me to co-sign a loan for the plumbing repairs. I cheerfully handed him a brochure for a local credit union. Thursday morning arrived. I packed my sleek silver suitcase and rolled it toward the front door. I've left clean linens in the hall closet, I announced, pulling my coat on. The spare key is on the counter. Oh, one minor detail. I walked over to the living room console, reached behind the television, and unplugged my main Wi-Fi router. I wrapped the cord neatly and dropped the black box into my tote bag. "What are you doing?" Liam asked, his eyes wide. "Unplugging electronics to save on the electric bill," I replied smoothly. "I always do this when I travel. Besides, you have your cell phones." "Oh, wait, I forgot you'll have to use your own data now." "Good luck with the house repairs." Before they could protest, I locked my master bedroom and my home office, pocketing the keys. I stepped out into the crisp morning air, loaded my car, and drove away. I didn't actually go to Sedona. I drove 3 hours north to a beautiful, quiet bed and breakfast overlooking a lake. I turned my phone on silent, poured myself a glass of Chardonnay, and sat on the balcony. For the first time in years, I wasn't managing a crisis. I wasn't bailing anyone out. I was simply breathing. My phone screen lit up on the table. It was Liam. Then a text from Sarah. Then another call from Liam. I ignored them all. They had a house to fix, a toddler to raise, and a non-refundable Mexican vacation to cancel. It was time they learned how to do their own math. I spent my weekend reading novels, getting a deep tissue massage, and enjoying meals that I didn't have to cook or clean up after. It was glorious. By Saturday afternoon, I finally checked my voicemail. There were 5 messages. The first was from Liam, trying to sound casual. "Hey, Mom, hope Sedona is great. Hey, do you happen to have a spare router? Sarah needs to do some work, and the cell service here is spotty." The third was from Sarah, her voice shrill. "Chloe, this isn't funny. We are trapped in this house with no internet, and Lily won't stop crying because she can't watch her shows. Call us back." The fifth was Liam, sounding utterly defeated. "Mom, please, we missed our appointment. Everything is falling apart. Just call me." I smiled, deleted the voicemails, and sent a single text to the group chat. "Cell service is patchy at the retreat. So glad you're bonding as a family. See you next week." When I finally drove back to my house the following Friday, I expected chaos. I walked through the front door, bracing myself for a mess. Instead, I found the house surprisingly tidy. Liam was sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly at a legal pad. He looked up when I walked in, bags under his eyes. "You're back early?" he noted quietly. The retreat wrapped up, I lied effortlessly, setting down my bags. "Where are Sarah and Lily?" Sarah took Lily to the park. Liam sighed, rubbing his face. "We had to get out of the house. We've been at each other's throats all week." I poured myself a glass of water and sat across from him. Plumbing issues can be stressful. Liam let out a hollow, humorless laugh. He looked down at the legal pad, then slid it across the table toward me. It was covered in messy math budget calculations, car loan payoffs, and credit card balances. There was no pipe burst. Mom Liam said, his voice cracking slightly. There was no flood. I know, I replied. He looked up, shocked. You knew. I called your plumber the day you moved in, I said casually, taking a sip of water. He snaked a slow drain in your bathtub. Total cost, $90. No flood. No drywall damage. Liam stared at me, his mouth slightly open. I all found the Cabo itinerary in the guest room trash, I added. You wanted me to retire so you'd have a permanent babysitter. When I said no, you fabricated an emergency to trap me here while you hopped on a plane to Mexico. Liam buried his face in his hands. Sarah was so stressed. The tickets were non-refundable. We lost all that money, Mom. Over 10 grand. Just gone. That is the price of deception, I replied evenly. The front door opened. Sarah walked in carrying Lily. She froze when she saw me sitting at the table. Her eyes flashed with sudden anger. You did this on purpose, Sarah accused, her voice rising. You knew about the trip. You ruined our vacation to punish us. I went on a work trip, I countered smoothly. If your plans relied on lying to me and using me as unpaid labor, then your plans were doomed from the start. You're supposed to help us, she yelled. I am helping you, I said, looking her dead in the eye. I am teaching you that you cannot finance a luxury life on a middle-class budget, and you cannot manipulate me into footing the bill. Pack your things. Your slow drain is fixed. Sarah looked at my face, saw the absolute finality in my eyes, and turned on her heel. Get the bags, Liam, she muttered. They moved out within the hour. For 2 months, communication was minimal. I didn't push or try to smooth things over. I simply lived my life. The foundation had to crack completely before they could rebuild it. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday. Liam sent me a text with a photo of a certified pre-owned Honda CR-V parked in their driveway. Traded in the SUV, the text read, "Payment is $300 a month now. We also canceled the club." I smiled, typing back, "Smart choice." Things didn't magically become perfect. Sarah is still frosty, but she is no longer demanding. The Cabo disaster was a brutal financial hit, but it was the wake-up call they desperately needed because the Bank of Mom was officially closed. Now my relationship with Lily is exactly what it should be. Every other Saturday, Liam drops her off at my house. We bake slightly burned cookies and feed the ducks at the local pond. I am not her nanny. I am Grandma. Sometimes when I sit at my kitchen island with my morning coffee, I look at the blue folder tucked away on my bookshelf. People assume that because you are an older mother, you will eventually fold under pressure and give up your own life to make theirs easier. I didn't need to argue or cry. I just showed them the math, took my Wi-Fi router, and let reality do the heavy lifting. The folder remains closed now, but they know it's there, and more importantly, they know I won't hesitate to open it again.